Yo, yo, yo. What is up? Samus Fandiari here. I got a special guest sitting in for Andy today. Uh, the man, the myth, the legend, Ant Wright. Ant, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Always good, man.
How would we introduce you to someone who's not familiar with your work across
Um,
the
Everything
mediums?
college basketball. It's funny how like the college basketball and the NBA world are like two separate
Yep.
entities. And like I found a way to kind of tap into high school, college, and NBA
Mm-hmm.
with the NBA draft stuff because you follow these kids from when they're some in middle school all the way through high school, and then into college, or they go Ignite, or they go overseas for a little bit, then they hit the draft, and then you want to see what they're doing the first few years in the league, and then you
Right.
just so just content creator. I create as much content as possible around the game. Um,
And for those who don't know, you're a Michigan guy. That's kind of it's kind of where you and I connected. And it's actually funny. You were on the show a couple years ago saying Jordan Poole breakout. You were correct. He did have a breakout. Had an amazing 2021, 2022 season. This last year, a little tumultuous. And so I figured, you know, for the person who called the shot with Jordan Poole, you're the perfect person to discuss him going forward. So I kind of want to start there. Like, you're someone who's seen him since high school and pretty much, and definitely at college.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on where he's at with the Warriors right now? Because they gave him, okay, everyone knows the punch. He got the huge contract, and this year the playoffs are disappointing. There's no way around that. I think he did a lot of good things this season, but you didn't really get the step you thought you were going to get based off of the year prior.
Right. Didn't start off great, as you said. The whole punch and all that went down. But I try to look at different factors, right? I got to put things into context. I think in the 26 games that Steph was out, he put up 26 and 5, efficient, and the team was 14 and 12. I just think that I don't look. I'm not saying that he's future MVP caliber. I'm not saying that, but it just feels like, and then you've seen me say this before, I just think he's outgrown whatever role that he needs to be in with the Warriors. And I'm not sure how they can fix that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it is like, so, okay, the shooting numbers are what they are. He definitely didn't shoot as well as he did prior from deep. But on the flip side, when he started next to Steph Curry, averaged, I got right in front of me, 23 and 4, shot 30, almost 38% from three, 46% from the field, generally in line with what he did the year prior, which got him, all the money. And I do wonder, like, is this really a role thing or is this just a mentality thing? Because, like, he's said so many times this year, like, it's a lot easier when you can when you play for extended stretches and you can catch a rhythm, kind of, insinuating it's tough when you're coming off the bench. You come off the bench, some games you're 4 for 6, other games you're 0 for 6. You can't really catch a rhythm type of thing. You let me play 35, 36 minutes, the numbers will come.
Yeah. And I would say that different players approach the game in a different way. So, like someone like Jordan, he is someone who needs touches. He needs to touch the ball throughout the game, whether he shoots it or not. He just needs to feel the basketball.
Right.
Klay Thompson is completely opposite, where he can do well off of less touches. Like he can not touch the ball for 1 or 2 minutes and then hit the next 3 shots. So I think that, he's someone who needs that rhythm. He needs to go right. He needs to play a long time. He needs to get that sweat going. He needs to play through mistakes. And then he needs to know that, hey, I can make a couple mistakes and everybody around me is completely fine with that because they also know the upside.
Yeah. So when you say he's outgrown, it just feels like he's not really comfortable being in the 6-man role going forward anymore. It's like he needs to start. So, Monty Poole, the Warriors have been saying they want to keep him. It's hard to tell if that's just a leverage player. That's the truth. The reality is he's the only guy they've developed with like upside yet. Like I still think Kuminga is going to be a player. Moses Moody obviously had nice playoffs, but like none of them have done anything Jordan's done to this date. If he was to stay with the Warriors, is like the only solution to this situation. Like someone is going to have to swallow their pride and pull DeAndre Iguodala and come off the bench, and he has to start. Is that really the only way we can kind of move forward?
I think so, or you move from him. I just think it's a very small example because like what happened with OKC was so extreme, having all those guys kind of peaking all at the same time, and there was just no room for everyone. Then they had to move Harden. Is Poole that Harden that kind of needs to just reset somewhere else and be a number 2 on a decent team, or be the lead guard next to a high scoring 2? Like, is that what needs to happen here? I'm not sure.
Let me ask you this. Okay, what do you think his ideal role is at this point? Because the Warriors have played him at the 2 next to Steph, and they don't really run. I mean, it's a motion-based offense. Like Draymond's kind of initiating the offense half the time. They've also played him in Steph's place because Steph missed a third of the year last year with injuries next to Clay. And I mean, to me, he's a pure combo guard. Yeah. But you really don't want him being your lead ball handler. Like, I just don't think he sees the game in a way that like point guards do. Honestly, like he can make an extra play, but his instinct is to score first and foremost. And so I think you want him in a situation where he gets to play off of someone and just kind of attack off the weak side.
He is score first, but he's not Steph dynamic, Dame dynamic when he's on. He's not at that level, right? At the same time, his creating is not at that level. I think that's a part of his game that he's really going to have to hone in on to really take that next leap. We all know that he can score. We all know that he can score in bunches. We all know that he can do those things, but he needs to develop other parts of his game outside of just being able to get downhill, scoop, or hit tough middies and like hit tough threes and all those things.
I want to end the Jordan Poole conversation with this. How much stock do you put in the punch being a lingering factor? Like knowing how interpersonal dynamics work and all. Like publicly, they've all said the right things. They've all said, we moved on from it, or it is what it is. We're professionals, that sort of things. But it's like it's just hard to not watch it and be like, there's not that like level of connectedness that you saw the year prior. I don't know, for obvious reasons.
I mean, it's more of a trust thing. It's more of a trust thing for sure. A lot of people like talk about the punch and they're like, "Oh, this is crazy." It's not crazy that it happened. It's crazy that everybody in the world saw it.
Right.
Like that's where it's like, okay, and then people who don't really get it, they're going to blow it up. They're always going to talk about it. And that's always going to be a topic of discussion. And then you almost feel exposed, right? If you're Jordan, you feel exposed. You feel like the privacy of your team is now out there, and you really don't. Then there's like a trust factor as well that goes into it too. But I'm not going to put that much into it in terms of the punch itself, but I think it wasn't the punch. I just think that the ripple effect that came from that is what is like what impacted him, especially early on.
That's my theory too. The punch is like the manifestation of this tension where like he's ready to take a bigger role, but the role's not there on this team. And then it leads to kind of the frenetic, inconsistent play. And I don't know, this whole year felt like a team that wasn't aligned in its objectives. Like it wasn't a bunch of dudes thinking championship first. It was a bunch of young guys who wanted to play, a bunch of veterans who wanted to still be the man, and trying to balance all that. And then, the punch was just kind of like, shout out Draymond for always just like, acting on what the metaphorical tension is, right?
Yeah. So like when you come off a very successful season,
Mm-hmm.
what's right for the team isn't necessarily what's going on in these players' heads personally. Some of these guys know that they need to take that next step in their career. But if you're coming back to a championship team who's won multiple titles and all those things, they're not just going to let you come in and like increase your game, right? You can, but you better do that within your role. You don't want to get outside of that, because if you get outside of that, you're bumping into someone else, and now it causes chaos. Now it causes friction, right?
Yeah.
And you saw, I think this year you saw a lot of that. Individual player wants to get to that next bump, when the team just needed them to be a better version of what they were the previous year. But everybody has their own career, and they want to make sure that they're still cashing checks. End of the day, that's a NBA on them, so.
Yeah. So let's end the Poole conversation. Do you think he's on the Warriors next year?
Do I think he's on the Warriors? Well, what's his contract again? Is it 4 years, 120? 4 years,
yeah, 123. So yeah, 30 a year, basically.
For someone who could be a number 2, that's not a bad contract, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
Especially
it puts him at about the 40. It puts him about the 50 highest paid player in the NBA. Just like I always like to think of it in that terms, where it's like, forget the number. It's in context of the fact that Steph makes 55. Like that's what you got to think about it with.
Yeah. So if Steph makes 55, he's making what, 55-ish% of that? I mean,
yeah.
So I think it's a good contract. I don't think it's a bad one. I don't think he was overpaid. I think the potential of who he can be over the next 3 to 4 years are still very, very high. So I don't think they want to move him. I don't think they want to, but I think there are going to be some teams out there who throw some deals on the table that the Warriors are going to have to look twice at, honestly.
Can they run it back with all the, like, because we're talking about how he wants a larger role, and like, forget wants, but like he literally played better when he had a bigger role than a smaller role, which sounds counterintuitive, but kind of speaks to your point. Like, if you're allowed to be comfortable, you get the more out of someone. Can they run it back with him coming off the bench next year? Because
I think to run it back, I think you need Clay to take a step back, honestly. And I don't know if he's going to do that. I think Clay needs to take a step back, honestly.
That's kind of where I'm at with it too. It's like, if that's going to happen, it's actually feasible that, he can play well and move forward, and kind of build off of what he did breaking out 2 years ago. And if you don't think that can happen, and you don't want it to happen, then you kind of have to look at your options moving him. To me, it's really that simple. It's ironic. Like everyone talks about the Draymond thing, but Draymond's dirty work glue guy. Like, he's going to work with either of them. Like, he's not looking for shots. He's looking for guys who can make shots around him. Exactly. It's really just kind of that, which one of those guys is willing to kind of accept the 6-man role. And, from there, I think that's all. Like figuring out those two will solve most of the problems going forward. All right, let's get to some draft stuff. So, gonna be honest, 95% of the emails, calls, or whatever we get on Lightyear say trade the pick. The general consensus is this team tried too hard to thread the needle with two timelines, young guys, old guys. And, look, they lost the second round, and they didn't have depth. Clearly, they didn't, build upon winning a title. Yeah. My question for you, though, is more so like, is there someone they could actually draft at 19 if they hold the pick who could play for them next year? Because the issue, in my opinion, was Kuminga. Everyone knows the potential's through the roof, but the reason he went number 7 was it's a multi-year project, right? He's 18, multi-year project. Patrick Baldwin Jr., phenomenal talent, huge upside. He fell to 28 for the exact same reason. James Wiseman prior, same thing. It's not like they're the team who's drafting Keegan Murray, like a plug and play type of guy. And part of me wonders if, with the 19th pick, if they'll look at it differently and be like, can we get someone, not necessarily a playoff player, but someone you can count on to give you 15 to 20 good regular season minutes in the NBA?
I already have someone.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So I've been looking at the Warriors pick for a while. So like when you even asked me, I was like, I already know. So yeah, so Moses Moody, right?
Sure.
Had him, he's had flashes, but really, has he really been an impact? Like, no. So he was what, a 1-year guy in college. Kuminga, he played in the Ignite.
13 games.
Wiseman, he played what, two or three games at Memphis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had
none of those guys, by the being long development, like that. None of that's surprising given how much they played.
Right. And then Patrick Baldwin Jr., he was injured when he was at Milwaukee. Shouldn't even gone there. 1-year guy. I want them to go with someone who's 3-4 years, who's 22, 23. I think they should get Trey Jackson-Davis.
Ooh. Okay. Give me the scouting report, because I'm gonna be honest, I thought you were gonna go Chris Murray.
No,
because that's been like that's a fun name, and obviously doesn't hurt that his brother, can play.
Listen, yeah, he's guys who produced and are older in college translate very well to the league. That's one. 2.
That's Draymond and Clay and Steph.
2, and Steph, right? And 2, he is 6'9". He is incredibly athletic. You're talking about rim protector, can guard multiple positions. Incredible passer. I believe he averaged like 4 or 5 assists. One of the best passing big men in all of college last year. Rebounding machine. If you're talking about someone who you need to come in for Looney, like he'll be able to play right away. That's where I'm at with him. And when it comes to shooting, like that's just not his thing. But when you're talking about rim runner, mid post, quick finishing at the rim, over the rim, I am very, very high on this dude, very, very high, and especially with the way the Warriors like to play. He can drop dimes in transition, top of the key, mid post, on the post, pretty much anywhere. And he's a guy where like you don't really need him to score, but he's a dude who will end up with 12, 13, 14 points because he's so athletic. He'll get garbage points. He'll get lobs at the rim.
He get his head above the rim because the Warriors literally have never had a player.
He's an athlete. He's an athlete, but he's extremely smart, high IQ. His dad played in the league for a long time with the Indiana Pacers.
Wait, his dad's Dale Davis?
One of the Davises. I know that much. He's one of the Davises. So
the internet tells me Dale.
So he's got the he's got the NBA pedigree as well, joining Steph Clay, NBA pedigrees, guys who were in college for a long time. I mean, I like Trace Jackson Davis a lot for you guys, man. I'm not gonna lie. I just think it just flows so well, and you don't need to really run plays for him in order for him to produce at all on the offensive end. Seeing JaMychal Green have to come in and soak up minutes for you guys, I felt really, really bad. And I think Trace Jackson could have played last year, not even messed it up. Like, he would have been very, very productive.
Most of the mocks have him around 30 right now. It's also really early. You think he's going to move up the board?
I think, look, they're like, oh, he's old, so we're going to drop him. I'm just saying, just from a standpoint of, if this is someone who you want to play on a team that you don't need to develop, he's ready to play right now.
Chat's saying sounds like Rashawn Holmes or Montrezl Harrell. What do you say to those comps?
No, Rashawn Holmes is not as athletic.
Okay.
Think Montrezl Harrell, much better passer, way better feel for the game, not raw at all. Yeah, I don't like that comp at all, actually.
All right, give me your comp for him. Because, like, look, comps are what they are. We all know, like,
that's tough, man. Yeah. That's tough. Imagine
you're really high on his passing, huh?
I'm really high on his passing is what sets him apart. Okay. His passing is what sets him apart, and there's not a lot of good big men passers that are also really athletic. Right, you're either one or the other.
It's true. It's like,
you're either really athletic and raw, or you're really skilled and you can pass the ball and you know the game. He's a combination of both, and a part of that is because he's known the game for so long. He's been around the game for so long, and he's played at such a high level in first team All-American. I mean, he was very, very good, very, very good last year. He's been good, really good for like 2 years now, where I'm always impressed with this game. But he has so many blocks just out of nowhere, head at the rim, armpit over the and then
3 a game.
Next possession, he'll find someone and just hit him. It's insane. It's insane.
You're selling me. I'm not gonna lie. Half the mocks have the Warriors taking his teammate, Jalen Hood. How do you pronounce his last name? Shavino.
I don't think you need him. You need someone who's going to help you guys win right now, because Steph is 35?
Yeah.
You only have him for another 2 years, playing at a high level.
You can't be operating on a 5-year plan, correct?
Right. So
maybe he exceeds science, but you can't operate like it happens.
Right. So if you do go the route of, hey, Clay, have a talk with him, understand that he's not the old Clay. Hey, maybe we could bump you back and we could save you. We can have you for another year on top of whatever you're supposed to do, and then you have Poole, and then you have Curry. I just think that you need, you don't need someone you don't need a big like Wiseman. You don't need that. You need someone who can play right away. And it's basically, imagine Kevon Looney, who could really, really jump, but also really, really pass.
Pre-hip injury Looney. That's everyone's. That's the dream.
Just he's a really, really, really good player. And you need someone who could play right away. And that's kind of where I'm at with you guys. You need someone who could play right now. I was thinking about Leonard Miller, but I'm maybe in 2 years.
Leonard Miller is my favorite. By the way, one of the mocks has, I'm looking at this right now. I want to say The Athletic has Leonard Miller to the Warriors. I don't think he's going to last to 19. Someone's gonna fall in love with the tools and be like, screw it, you upside at number 13 or something,
Yeah,
something like that. But like, yeah, I do think of the guys who are not top 5, 7, he has the highest upside. Like
I agree.
but I'm with you also on the I know Steve Kerr is going to just send him to Santa Cruz for the next 2 years. So it's just,
Exactly. So, yeah, like there's not many guys who are going to be able to play right away, who are going to be able to impact your team and give you something that you guys don't really have outside of Andrew Wiggins.
True.
You need another athlete because you guys just get bullied and they these teams get to the rim, create rim pressure continuously. Like that's how LeBron closed the series out, right?
Yeah.
By just putting his head down and getting to the rim because he didn't feel a threat. Like there was nobody at the rim to really discourage him.
The Warriors have traditionally not had great rim protection, but they've had a lot of big wings who can stay in front of people.
Yeah.
And this year, it's like Wiggins is that, but like it's a far cry from like the teams with like, Iguodala and, a healthier Clay and KD and like a bunch of guys like that. It's like a little thinner on that front. So they need front court help, whether it's like a traditional big or more of like a wing in one way or another. I wanted to ask you this. You skipped over him. Give me the reason why you don't like Chris Murray for the Warriors. Or maybe you do, but like walk me through that one because he's going to be he's the name you're going to hear the most and like let's be honest, it's mostly because of Keegan Murray. But like give me the case.
I do like Chris Murray. I don't like him for the Warriors, but I do like Chris Murray.
Why don't you like him for the Warriors?
I just don't see the need when I think Moody can get to another level. Kuminga can get to another level. Wiggins is already there. Clay is there. I just think you don't need him right now. And that's someone else who you're gonna like. Someone's gonna be bumped. Like I think you gotta trust your draft picks that you made a year and then 2 years ago. Develop those guys and like make them actual pieces. But so I like Chris Murray. He's a left-handed Keegan with a little bit less testosterone. That's where I'm at. He's not as aggressive.
Lower dog factor.
Yeah, lower dog factor. Less aggressive, but still very, very skilled. Length, can shoot the ball, can get to the rim, and finish. Nothing phases him. He's outside of that, like him and Keegan. It's the same thing. Just flip them.
I was always confused. Like this is a sidebar. I was always confused why they didn't just play the two of them together more. Like you watch more Iowa than me.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why those two guys.
Well, the way that the team was built, like you had, because remember it was Luka Garza, right?
True. Yeah.
National Player of the Year, and then you had when they went small, man, they were sick. It was Chris, Keegan, and they had 6'9" McCaffrey. They had 3 6'9" wings as their 3, 4, and 5. And when that group was humming, it was disgusting. It was nasty. But yeah, like Luka Garza, you couldn't just not play him extended minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it was a good team. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go over a couple names in the mock here. All right.
For sure.
From Michigan, your guy, Kobe Buffkin.
Kobe Buffkin.
He's living in that Warriors draft range, like as high as 14, 15, as low as 25. Gonna hear his name in that range for a while. So talk me through him.
So his first year at Michigan, basically unplayable.
Sounds like his first year in Golden State next year.
Yeah, basically unplayable. What he did to work on his game, work on his body, just 1 year was insane. and it was an exhibition this year, and we're about halfway through the game, and I text the chat. I'm in this like NBA draft chat, and I go, Kobe Buffkin 2024 lottery. That's what I say, right?
Okay.
Then he started he just stayed consistent, and then a bunch of guys came to watch Bryce Sensabaugh play. Kobe outworked him, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was over. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Decent athlete, good shooter. He was young for his age last year. He should have been in high school last year. So he's really the age of most freshmen right now.
This sounds like Jordan Poole.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not the same. They're not the same. Outside of having similar skin tone and same number at Michigan, they're not the same. But you are going to get that because they do look alike if you squint. But it's his work ethic is what got him to this point, which is nice. But I just, that's someone else who you're going to put in Santa Cruz for 2 years.
Gotcha. Just clarifying.
Anybody who I think you're going to put in Santa Cruz, I just wrote off for y'all.
What about Derek Lively? Oh, Duke.
I hate Derek Lively. Okay, so
I love your opinion. I love your opinion on bigs because I think you and Steve Kerr are aligned in what you actually like in bigs.
So I don't. Okay. So let me rephrase. No, there is a tweet out there I put out a few months ago, and I was like, "Can someone tell me one thing that Derek Lively does at an NBA level?" And he does rim protect at an NBA level, but when it comes to putting the ball in the bucket or playing tough, I'm good. That's another Santa Cruz guy. Santa Cruz guy. He's not going to be ready to play. I don't think he's big enough. I think he rim protects pretty well. But outside of that, I don't know what else he does well for the NBA. I don't know how he was ranked number 1 coming out of 22.
He knows the right people. That's how.
He made a call like LeBron made that call for
yeah. All right, let's see. Any other names on again here? Jordan Hawkins.
Love Jordan Hawkins.
He does scream Warriors player, but it's just a player who's going to sit behind
he
Poole and Clay.
He's rare. He's rare because you don't get the prospects anymore who sprint off of screens and are able to read screens and are able to get their feet right and their footwork. You don't really see that, and that's why I really like his game, and I like his athleticism too. I think he is someone who could play right away, possibly, but I just don't think you need a guard, honestly.
No, I mean, my personal opinion is they just need to get someone who can actually play. Like at this point, it's just even if it's a position of not need, like you gotta kind of, it's like hitting a single. Get someone. It's always better to have more players than non-players.
Yeah.
Is there anyone before we get out of here? I'll leave on this one because you made a strong sell on Trayce Davis Jackson. Anyone else I should dive into or take a look at?
No.
If my thought is, oh wow, okay.
Do you have a second round pick?
Nah. They'll probably. I mean, they could buy one. I don't know that they need to, but who are you going to mention? They bought a second round pick 3 of the last 6 drafts. They're always a wild card too. So who are you thinking of?
Well, I like Kobe Brown.
Okay.
I don't think he'll be good for the Warriors though, but I like Kobe Brown because he is another skilled 6'8", 250, 55, 45 55% from the field, 45% from three. Good free throw shooter. Assist to turnover ratio like 2-1. He could really play. He is older, about 23. But
Missouri.
yes, but he is a below the rim guy. Yes, he can dunk and he could finish hard and all that, but he's not someone who's going to give you much rim protection and give you much of that. So you'll have another just like a meaty body, someone like Dre within the lineup. But you need Pat Baldwin to turn into Michael Porter Jr. and just I mean, Trace. I mean, I don't know. I'm really sold on Trace Jackson Davis. He's going to go too low. People are going to be like, "Man, why didn't we get that kid?"
All the GMs are going to be lying, being like, "I was going to take him, but my owner wanted the upside pick."
You gotta throw him under the bus. I'm really high on Trace. I'm really high on Trace. I think he's everything that y'all need from an offensive and defensive standpoint. I just think he fits so well, and he'll play right away. That's like the biggest thing.
Appreciate it, man. All right, Ant, you want to plug anything before we get out here?
I mean, it's Ant Wright. You could go in there, and then you'll see all the stuff I do. It's Ant Wright on everything: TikTok, YouTube, everything. It's Ant Wright. I usually try to get back to people who hit me up and ask me questions. So like ask away, hit me up, do whatever. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. I like that. 23 and his dad being Dale Davis is intriguing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sold too. I appreciate you. I'll be checking out your draft content the rest of the way. We'll get out of here.
For sure. I'll try to drop some on Trace within the next week or so.